Welcome into our Locked On NBA Draft Lottery Insider Report. Doug Branson from Locked On Hornets joining us now. You seem to be familiar with the draft process at this point a little bit. Not to rub that in too much. I mean, there are others that are worse. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But where we ended up is kind of where we expected, right, at 13. So where can you see them going with this kind of mid first round pick?
That's a really interesting question because they have the 13th pick. They also have the 15th pick, courtesy of the New Orleans Pelicans making the playoffs. That pick transfers to the Hornets. So they have two picks right around that late lottery, and they need to win now. And they have an obvious need at the center position, specifically the defensive center position. So could they package these picks and try to go out and get a veteran center to fill out their roster? Could they try to continue to develop and add young players? Could they package these picks and move up? You know, there are a lot of interesting center prospects that could fall in the mid lottery, like Jalen Duren, for example. A lot of different options for the Charlotte Hornets at this point.
And you mentioned, obviously they could deal these picks, right? Because they have a very young roster. This could be something where, it would be wise possibly of them to get some veteran presence in there possibly. But how much does that depend on who this coach is that we don't know yet?
Well, a lot, because there have been some rumors or suggestions that the franchise would be open to not only hiring a new head coach, but also making that head coach a general manager as well. And a lot of names floating out there right now: Mike D'Antoni, Darvin Ham, Kenny Atkinson. And then Mitch Kupchak, who is the current general manager, is on an expiring deal. Could you see Kupchak moving into more of a sort of draft or advisory role and have this new head coach come in and be the general manager? So many questions left to be answered. And yes, I think a lot of that will hinge, or the draft will hinge on the answers to that question. And just to make clear, they could absolutely make this pick at 13, because you could have a Mark Williams out of Duke, a Walker Kessler out of Auburn. I mean, both of those prospects would fit perfectly. The question would be, how quickly could they come in and contribute? Because the spot will be there, but can they come in and contribute quickly? I think that's an open question.
And obviously, we don't know. We're not in the front office. We're not entirely sure. But, a team that's playing in the play-in tournament is right there on the edge of the playoffs there. Where obviously you want to add any kind of talent you can add, but obviously when you're right there, the temptation is right to like make that next jump, right? Not go backwards to go forwards. So in your mind, would it be more useful to get a veteran presence in there than maybe making these picks?
I think it makes a lot of sense when you consider, that they just fired head coach James Borrego because that they couldn't get out of the play. Not only could they not get out of the play-in, but they were getting blown out of the play-in. It seems like the player development era of this team is over, and you have a budding superstar in LaMelo Ball. And look, bottom line, the clock is ticking on his rookie deal and possible extension after that. So the Hornets have to wake up every morning thinking, how can we put a team together that most takes advantage of the time that they have with LaMelo Ball, and maybe convinces LaMelo Ball in a similar way that Milwaukee was able to convince Giannis that, hey, yes, we're a small market, but we can also put a contending championship team around you. That starts this offseason, which I've said multiple times on the Locked On Hornets podcast, is the most important offseason in Charlotte Hornets franchise history. And Kainani, I'll give you one more note before we go. The 13th pick for Charlotte, the last time they picked 13, well, they didn't pick 13. It was 1996. They traded that pick, which ended up being Kobe Bryant to the Los Angeles Lakers. So I would just warn, I talked a lot about dealing the pick early in this segment, but I would warn the Charlotte Hornets, before you trade that pick, make sure it's not a generational superstar talent that you will live to regret for many years to come.
Just superstition wise, right? Now I want them to
Right.
keep it just for that sake alone. They got a couple weeks to figure things out before the draft, so we'll have to see which way they end up going. Doug, thank you for joining us. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Now NBA.